Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This video is on Splunk SIEM course. Whether you are a fresher, intern, or started your career in cybersecurity already, this entire course will help you to get hands-on with Splunk SIEM solution. Okay, my name is Rajneesh Gupta. I'm CEO at Hex Security, delivering cybersecurity services and some advanced training programs as well. Before we get started with this entire course, make sure you subscribe the channel so that you keep getting similar hands-on courses in the future. All right, so let's first get the understanding about this course outline. Okay, first thing first, we'll be having introduction to Splunk SIEM, where we will learn about its importance. Some generic point about Splunk. Then we will go through the Splunk Demo. We will learn about key features and benefits of Splunk SIEM solution for, of course, SOC team, security analyst, SOC analyst team. Okay, then we will learn about Splunk architecture and deployment methods. We will then go get into the Splunk installation, and then we will learn about Splunk apps. And I will also install a few apps as well for you to get a detailed understanding about how different Splunk apps really works. Okay, and then we will ingest data and work into parsing as well. Then we will learn about Splunk processing language, SPL, that's used for querying different data and retrieving the data as well for further log analysis in security investigation or forensic activity as well. Then we will get the understanding about how to create new dashboard and visualize them. Okay, and then finally we will go through some hands-on lab exercises with different real world scenarios. Okay, so let's get some overview of SIM and Splunk. Okay, so let's first understand what is SIM. So SIM is security information and event management tool. Its major job, its function is to perform data aggregation, correlation among different data, and of course alerts as well. And then it also pop up any new security events or alerts and build the reports as well. It's beneficial because it helps you with the security visibility. You get a 360 view of what all happening in the network, and this also helps you with the better incident response. Okay, next let's talk about Splunk. Splunk was founded in 2003. It's a very powerful solution in data analytics. It's not just a SIM solution, but it also very powerful in data analytics activity as well. Currently, Splunk is a leader in SIM market. What you see, it's basically Gartner quadrant, and then this you can see Splunk is mentioned in the leaders section. Okay, and next, because it's specialized in analyzing machine related data. It's widely used in the IT operations, security, and business analytics as well. It's very powerful in terms of collecting, indexing, analyzing machine generated data. When I say indexing, it's like giving an addressing or locating every events that happening in the network, just like Google index every page on the internet of every website. Similarly, Splunk, the job of a SIM solution is to index every events properly and help the admin to analyze them. You can see Splunk collects the data from different sources, from operating system to databases to different cloud infrastructure, router switches, firewall, or databases as well, and then help you to get a complete 360 view of it. Okay. Now let's talk about importance of Splunk in security operations. The first very important thing is it helps you to get a better real-time threat detection. Okay, so in cybersecurity, in security operation, the quicker is better. Okay, next, streamline the incident response. With Splunk, basically there is a different apps comes in, which is called enterprise security. You have to buy that additional app from Splunk. Once you get that, it will help you to streamline your incident response very well, where you can check any alerts, you can work on different advanced threats, you can create different correlation rule. For example, you can create a rules that if any brute force attack attempt happen in this period of a time, I should get an alert, and that can be treated as a very serious alert. Okay. And then we have compliance and reporting option. With the compliance and reporting, you can manage different compliances from PCI DSS, ISO compliances, uh, different regional compliances like HIPAA compliance, GDPR compliance as well. All right, so let's get the Splunk demo. Okay, this is the Splunk dashboard. What you see on the left is the list of Splunk apps. Okay, every Splunk app it has its own capability related to certain firewall, related to certain logs, security capability. By default, you get Splunk search and reporting apps that's inbuilt. Okay, once you click on it, you will land here where you see search, analytics, data sets, and search option as well. So if you have imported the data on the Splunk, this is where you can run the Splunk query and retrieve the data. Now let's come back to the main dashboard. Here you have few more options. You have some quick links about adding a data. Maybe you can add a data from the endpoints, from database logs, or maybe firewall logs. Maybe you want to investigate what was happened in the past, and what is really, if something is really suspicious in the network traffic, so you can take the log file from the IDS, IPS, firewall, endpoint security solution, and you can then run query and analyze those data as well. Now, next we have dashboard option and everything, but if you click on search your data, you will again land to the same page. I'll show you. You will again land on the search and reporting app of it. Okay, so these are some of the major features. Let's talk one by one from the top. On the top you have apps option. So if you have whatever apps you have installed, you will see here. And if you want to move from one app to another, you can just click on it and you will be there. Now remember, in the organization usually there are different apps created for different department. Maybe firewall team can create their own apps, investigation team can create their own apps, and they can segregate that as well. Okay. They can also create a different dashboard for themselves. So over here we have a dashboard, so I can possibly create a custom dashboard for me, maybe to monitor all the firewall traffic hitting to a specific set of CIDR or IP address block. So for that, I can create a custom dashboard. I'll show you how we can create, but once it has been created, you see those results here. On the top, next we have administrator option. It's specific to the admin of the Splunk, so you can create your account, preferences, and everything. Whatever happened in terms of notification message, you see here in the message section. Okay. Next we have settings option. From the settings, you can actually add a data. What we saw in the earlier section, in the earlier page, home page of Splunk, where we had a quick link to add a data. So if, let's say, I click on add data, I get a multiple option about how you want to add a data. You can upload a file directly, a log file directly on the Splunk, and then run some queries to analyze it. You can also have a file forwarding option, file and port forwarding to Splunk platform as well. You can use syslogs as well, or you can forward the data. In order to forward the data, you need a Splunk agent. This is called Splunk forwarder. You can install it on the servers or any kind of a machine, and especially on the servers or maybe the endpoints computers like Linux, Windows, Mac OS. And then that agent will collect all the data and send it to the Splunk indexer, and you see them on your dashboard then, okay, in real time. Now that's about adding the data. And then next we have quite a lot of other information. On the data section, we have data inputs, we have forwarding and receiving, indexes is like databases. So every database of information will have its own index. And if you want to see data from all the indexes, you can just go in the search tab and just enter a wildcard entry. Let me show you how. So if I have a specific index, okay, then I can just say index is equal to maybe name of the index file. I have these indexes already built in audit, or maybe it could be uh, enterprise security or enterprise data, maybe. Okay, or if I'm not sure which index I should go for, and I just want to get all of them, so just say index wildcard. It will give you the data from all the indexes. You see this? Perfect. Now you also have an option of report source type. Now source type is very interesting. This is very much related to kind of data that you have. Maybe HTTP data, TCP data, firewall, or Palo Alto, or DNS data, DSCP data, HTTP data. So you can see them all here. Source type, when you go here, you will see the different protocol based source type. Even if you upload a log file, let's say it's a DNS log file, so you can mention the name of the source type as DNS logs. Okay, it's that simple. Next, we also, in the distributed environment, you get all these information as well. Don't worry, I'll teach you what distributed environment is. Next, we have user roles, token information, system information about the server settings, where you can find the server configuration and everything. About restricting certain file, in changing anything into the system, you can do it from here. Okay, you can see all configuration, alert action, advanced searches, lookup, fields. By default, remember there are two kind of a major category in terms of fields. There's a default fields and there's an interesting field, but you can also create an analysis, calculated fields, different field extraction as well. So this is all possible here. Although this can be done in real time, but it's better if you do it from the scratch. Okay, if you're getting confused, let me tell you how exactly the field really looks like. So see, a log can be of different type, but every log has got certain value, right? So you have two kind of fields. Selected field, these are by default been created by Splunk itself. An interesting field that has been retrieved from the log itself. Okay, and these are all fields: source IP, destination IP, method, HTTP method, source IP, status, response code, or anything, timestamp as well. So these are all fields. You can have some default fields, but you can also create or extract a new field as well. So if you click on extract new field, and you just have to select any sample log file from here, maybe, and then you it's up to you what pattern you recognize, and what kind of a name or a field name you want to give a specific uh, data. So let's say this is the IP address. I feel this can be a source IP address, right? If I'm sure, then I can do it. I can click on regular expression. Just an example, don't worry, I'll cover that in the future. But let's say this is source IP address, so I can select this, and then I can say it is the source IP. Okay, so now this will be taken as the source IP address everywhere. And similarly, I have done changes to a single log, but this will be implemented for all the logs in that specific source type or the data types. Okay, you can see this has been selected as source IP now, src IP. So that's how the fields are extracted. Okay, next, user interface, lookup, event type. These are very specific, and this will be covered as we are learning through this entire video course. Okay, we can also manage permissions for different users. We can add our team members in this system. We can visualize our data in form of dashboard, in terms of pie chart, or different levels of events as well. So this is all can be Let's done. Talk about some key features. First, real-time monitoring. With Splunk SIEM, you can perform continuous monitoring of data stream. Maybe it is coming in from the endpoints, servers, databases, or anything in the network. You get the details in real time. Okay, You get immediate visibility into security events. You get all the security events, and if you have created rules properly, correlation rules maybe, then you get the serious incidents or the alerts as well. Okay. Next, the advanced threat detection. With the help of machine learning and behavioral analytics, which is built in with the Splunk, this can be really possible to detect advanced threats or APTs as well. Splunk Enterprise is also compatible with the MITRE attack framework, and but remember this. For this to work, you need an additional app called Enterprise Security, and with that, it would be very easier for you to perform the advanced threat detection. It can also help you to detect any anomalous traffic and any advanced techniques used by the advanced threats. Okay. Next, compliance reporting. Reporting is also made very easier with Splunk. So maybe it's a PCI DSS compliance, HIPAA compliance, GDPR compliance, NIST security controls. Everything can be monitored in real time, and you understand what requirements is been completely fulfilled and what is something which is partially fulfilled, and if there is any possible issues with any of the requirements in the entire compliance, you can then work with it. Next, scalability and flexibility. Well, of course, Splunk is made for enterprise, so it handles large volume of data. Right, so now let's talk about Splunk architecture and deployment. When we talk about the Splunk components, we start with the data. Okay, so this data can be from the computer, from servers, from routers, switches, firewall, databases, application, anything in the network, right? So that data comes in, and it comes via forwarder. Okay, so forwarder is the one which works as an agent. Okay, it's an agent which collects and forward the data on the uplink. Okay, and what is the uplink? The uplink is the indexer. Now this is the another server which is basically responsible in storing and indexing all the incoming data. Once the indexer store and index all the incoming data, then it shows us on the search head. And search head is the interface, the GUI for querying or reporting all the data. And at the end, we as an admin can see all the data on the dashboard. Okay, so as it is clear for us that forwarder is more of an agent that install on the endpoint, servers, computers, anything that can be deployed on any system. But remember, there are two kind of forwarder again. There is a lightweight, or we call it as universal forwarder. Okay, and second one is the heavy forwarder. Okay, universal forwarder can be installed on the endpoints. That's basically responsible to collect the logs from the endpoint and forward it. That's it. But heavy forwarder is even more smarter. It has the capability to forward the data, but at the same time that can index and search and change the data as well. Okay, now let's talk about the deployment model. Now, in the deployment model, we have single instance, distributed, and cluster. In a way, both this distributed and cluster environment are same. It's just that the only difference is in the single instance, all the three important components, like we talk about the forwarder, or we talked about the indexer, maybe, right? Indexer, and then a search head, right? Because the forwarder, universal forwarder is usually installed on the agent, right? So we can have universal forwarder here which sends that all the data. And when we have indexer and search head in the same server, in a single server, that becomes a single instance or a standalone deployment. This is only used in the lab environment or in the testing environment, not in the production. Okay, but in the real world production environment, we go with the distributed environment where the indexer and the search head are deployed on two different servers. Okay, but cluster is even more advanced, It's more powerful in the mission critical environment. This is heavily used because we have high availability on every nodes that we are having. Maybe high availability on the indexer and search head. Let me show you how. You see here on the bottom we have servers, right? Multiple servers. That's where we have universal forwarder installed. Okay, we have universal forwarder installed here that basically forwards all the logs, all the events. To whom? To indexers. So but the only difference is, in here we have a cluster. That means even if one goes down, other will still be running. So that's a high availability or high resiliency environment. That's called clustered environment. Next, once the indexer store and index all the incoming data, it will forward that to the search head. And again, in the search head as well, we have a cluster. That means if one goes down, others still be working. So there would not be any impact on the network. On the other side, you can see there's also a for heavy forwarder as well. And as I said, heavy forwarder is like a instance as well, which can index, search, and change the data as it goes, and it then forward it to the indexer. In that situation, indexer don't have to do a lot of activity. It would be offload. It would be a easy move for the indexer to just forward the data to the search head. Then if you look at, there are few more peripheral nodes available as well, like deployment server, right? So deployment server is, or maybe deployer, you can call it, as it's used to distribute the apps, certain other configuration updates, the search head cluster members as well. So that's the job of deployers. And then we also have license master. License master is basically used to keep a track of the data that is being pushed or ingested into the Splunk, because you remember, just remember, Splunk works on the amount of data. Okay, so if we have a high spike in the data, or we have a huge amount of data going on higher than the license that we got it, or the subscription that we have, license master will give us an alert. Okay, and in case the license master connection is lost or the server goes offline, we still be having the data. It's just that we won't be able to search, so the search will not work, but we still be getting the data. Okay, so that's the difference. Let's talk about the hardware and software requirement. First thing first, the hardware requirement is where we for the indexer, we'll talk about some of the major components. For the indexer, we require minimum 8 cores of CPU. We require minimum 12 GB of RAM, and this space of 800 IOPS, and network connection of 1 GB. For search head, we require 8 cores, again 12 GB of RAM, minimum 100 GB of disk space, and 1 GB of network connection. Universal forwarder, because this will even works on the lightweight machine like Windows, Linux servers, or not even server, but even a lightweight computer as well, or laptop. This will even work. So even if you have a laptop of 1 core CPU and 2 GB, I know it's very low, but this will still work. And for heavy forwarder, because it does quite a lot of additional activity in terms of index searching or changing the data as well, so it requires a machine or a server with at least 4 cores, 8 GB RAM, and 1 GB of a connection. When it comes to software requirement, indexer can be installed on Windows, Linux, Mac OS. I prefer Linux. Browser, I mean, any one of them will work. You don't require Java, you don't require Python, but NTP is very important. Why? Because NTP is used to synchronize the time, and when it comes to log or investigation or log retention and anything, time is very important, because NTP synchronized with the global time accordingly. Okay, search head, again, it will work on Windows, Linux, Mac OS. I prefer Linux. And then we have latest version, you can prefer any one of them. You don't require Java, you don't require Python. NTP is must, even for universal forwarder and heavy forwarder as well. All right, so this is the hardware and software requirement. All right, so now let's learn to install Splunk SIEM. Okay, for this, visit splunk.com, and under this you have products option. Okay, under product, click on free trials and downloads, and then you have to go to the Splunk Enterprise. Okay, click on this. This will give you 60 days of a trial with 500 MB of data per day. Okay, so once you do that, it will ask you to fill up a form and enter the detail, email address, passwords, email, a company name, and everything. Those are the basic information they need. Once it is done, then you can select your server. This is, remember, this is for the training purpose. Then because this is the trial. Okay, so either you can select Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. Okay, if you select the Windows, you can just click on download now, and trust me, it's very very easier, because this is just an MSI file. So it will ask you to just click on next, 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 and within like few minutes your installation is done, and then you can able to access this server onto port 8000. So this is where you will be able to access it. Okay, and of course, once you install that, it will also ask you to create a local username and password, and it should be very clear. You should be able to get in. It's accessible on port 8000, so that's the only thing you should be aware about. If you are installing on local machine, so make use of 127.0.0.1 or local host, then 8000 port. So that's the only thing you need to do, and you would be able to access your Splunk. So once the software has been installed, you can just first click on check this box to accept the license agreement, and then you can click on next. Once you do that, you just have to set your username and set up a password. Remember, this is your local password, and what the credential you submitted, that is for the Splunk website. Okay, that from there you can able to access all the required software from Splunk, but this credential will be used to access your Splunk locally. So for example, if you want to install any additional Splunk apps from the marketplace, you will use your Splunk cloud credential. But if you want to use your Splunk dashboard, you will use this local credential. You click on next and then click on install. Once this might take few minutes, and once it is done, then you would be able to access your Splunk from your browser, from your Chrome or any browsers. I would suggest you to use the Chrome browser, and once it is done, then you will be able to access your Splunk dashboard on port 8000. All right, so this is the installation. All right, so now let's talk about Splunk Apps. What are Splunk Apps? Splunk Apps are the application that run on the Splunk platform and provides a kind of a user interface, for working with the data. So they are specially designed to analyze and display all the different knowledge about specific kind of a data or data sets. Now, Splunk apps can include maybe a custom dashboard for a certain application, or maybe certain kind of a data like firewalls, or maybe intelligence or supporting searches that can integrate the knowledge of data sources and different structure as well. Now, what are those knowledge base and what are those structure? Let me show you. When you click on apps, in fact, we are also on an apps. When we do the search, we are using Splunk search and reporting app. That's a built-in app, so we don't have to install additionally. Just like you have your iPhone, and if you want to install any additional app like Gmail, or maybe any additional WhatsApp instant messaging app, so you go to the App Store, right? Similarly, on your Android phone, you go to the Play Store. Similarly, we have Enterprise Splunk Marketplace as well. You can click on Find More Apps. From here, you can find wide variety of apps. For us, more important is the network security. So we'll look into the security, and we'll look into the security fraud compliance, We can also look at the vulnerability scanning, sandbox, SIM solution, threat intelligence, network access control, investigative, right? So we get all the applications, all the apps that fall under this category. Now, let me tell you honestly, the apps that you would be working the most is called Splunk Enterprise Security. So let me search Enterprise Security. Now, this is very very popular in the security space. This you cannot install from here. For this, you have to go to the Splunk base, and for this, you have to talk to the sales team, the Splunk sales team, and they will give you the credential. They will allow you to access or download this app. You can see this is very powerful because this allows you to do the incident review, threat object review, investigation, threat intelligence, MITRE attack, framework compatibility, a risk event. You can see you can do quite a lot of stuff with this. So if you are going to work in a SOC, or you are working in a SOC, this is the one which you definitely be working on. Okay. Now let's talk about one more very popular tool, which is called Splunk Security Essential. I'll type Security Essential. Right? This is also an important one, which can be helpful for you to get the different use cases. So if you click on Open App, in your case, if you haven't entered the username and password, it will ask you to enter your Splunk Cloud credentials. In my case, it's already there, so you can see I already have this app in my system. So the moment I have installed this app, I get all the different, altogether a new dashboard. You see, in this dashboard, I have a content section, I have analytics advisors section, security operations section, and quite a lot of stuff. You see, if I click on security content, this will give me tons of use cases on different maturity cycle. So you can see I have use cases for different kind of attacks and different scenario, maybe any PowerShell downloads files and everything. So this is very cool. I want you to try and give me the feedback on the comment section below. You can see Splunk Security Essential. So here we are going to talk about data ingestion and parsing. In the earlier videos, we have learned there can be different data sources. We can have data coming, maybe it's a log data, maybe it's the network data, application data, DB data, maybe firewalls data, router switches, antivirus data, anything. So data sources can be anything, right? And then it's up to Splunk how it basically collected. Maybe it's collecting by using the lightweight forwarder, heavy forwarder. Then it will get it on the indexer, and from there we analyze that on the search head, right? Now, when it comes to data ingestion, we can also use the we can actually upload the data directly onto the system. You can see on the bottom we have multiple options, right? When you click on the add data, you have upload option, you have monitor live instances on certain port, or you can use the forwarder on that case, right? So we'll be ingesting the data directly on the system by using a sample file. Maybe let's say your manager or someone from a different team, maybe application team, gave you a certain file, and they it might be suspicious for them, right? Maybe you detected those certain suspicious activity, and you asked the application team to share the application log data from maybe from last 30 days, right? So you get those data. In our case, let's say we have a DSCP data, and we are suspecting some problem with the DSCP spoofing kind of attack, right? So I just drop down, drag in and drop a DSCP file, or you can also select the file by clicking on the select file, and then you can click on next. Once you do that, this will give you all the logs, all the events. You can just keep it as it is. You can save it, or you can modify the name of it. You will get an option to select the source type. I'll keep it as it is because I know it's all DSCP, right? Then we can click on next, and you can define the name of this source type. well, say in my case, I'll say DSCP logs. I'll give the description as this is all DSCP, right? And then you can say then you can categorize it and also specify which application, which app you want to see this data. So I'll keep it in the search and reporting itself. Click on save. Now I can change the host field because of my system, but I'll keep it as it is. Let's click on review. Let's submit. It's all done, right? Now click on start searching. Perfect. Can you see this? All the data is now visible in the search and reporting app, and you can see them all here, right? So the source is the DSCP log. You remember this is the name of the file, right? I enter the source type as DSCP logs, and this is my host name, correct? Now this is how you ingest the data. One way of ingesting the data is getting the sample file and uploading it to the Splunk. Now, the second part that we are going to learn is parsing. What you see on the left is two category of fields. First is the selected field. This is these are all default fields, and next we have interesting fields. These are all extracted by the Splunk based on its metadata, but you can also extract new fields yourself, right? So you can, maybe let's say currently I know that in DSCP there could be multiple fields based on ports, based on a source IP address, but I don't see any source or destination IP address here. Maybe DSCP server IP address. Maybe I know that maybe for example, I'm just considering it that this 202.1 is DSCP server, but it's not been categorized, or it's not there in the interesting field itself. So I have to extract this field. You can click on extract new field, okay, and then you have all the logs here. You can select any one of them. Just select any of the event, and once you have that event, click on next. This is the way you take a sample file. Before you parse the data, you perform the parsing. First of all, I parsing is basically taking data and standardizing it, because you on the Splunk we get the data from multiple sources. At the end, for us, for Splunk to standardize the data, for us to visualize and investigate properly, we need the data in the standard format, and that's process is called parsing, okay. Once I get it, I have two option of parsing. Either I can use the regular expression, or I can use the delimiter. I prefer regular expression, so we'll go with it. Now you have to select certain fields. Let's say I know this is most likely the IP address. In this case, for this log, this looks to be a destination IP source IP address, destination IP address. So I'll just select it. This can be a client machine, maybe source IP address. So I'll say SRC IP. So that's the source IP, and I'll click add extract. Okay, in this case this is for example. Don't take it, don't think this will work in every scenarios. You have to spend some time in understanding how the traffic really looks like, okay. For this traffic I can usually it's a best practice to extract one field at a time, but because we are testing in a lab environment, so we can we can extract a couple of more fields. So this can be my destination IP address, or maybe I can say DSCP server IP address. It's all up to you. For example, I'll just do DST IP, okay, and this field will be extracted. Now you can see I have two fields being extracted here. You can see wherever you see the 202.64, or this has been treated as the source IP, and what you see in the green, it's treated as the destination IP address. You see here, you see all of those logs. That's the way it works, right? Now the DSCP also has a DSCP option values, and different kind of methods and messages. It consists of DORA process, right? So there are different messages, starting with the discover message to offer message to request and acknowledge message as well. So each kind of message will have its own pattern, right? So for that you have to learn about the packet and understand what this field really talk about. I'm just giving you an example how you can extract your own fields, okay. Once you do that, you can click on next. And if you are happy with what you see, then you can click on next. That basically source and destination IP. As I said earlier, it's a best practice to extract one field at a time, and then keep adding as you learn about your data. Click on next. Right, so we have extracted source IP and destination IP here. You can also define the apps, or I want this to be applicable for all the apps, so I'll select all the apps and click finish. You can then click on explore the fields I just created in the search. Now when you click on it, you will see these fields in the interesting fields. Let's see if it's there. Yeah, perfect. Can you see this? The src IP, it's newly been created, and in the dst IP you have three IP address, and this is our DSCP server. I'm not saying this is definitely the DSCP server. That's based on the sample log. If you should be comfortable, you should before you actually extract the parse the data, you should be knowing about certain IP address. You should do some research before you come to this conclusion. On the source IP address, you can find there are 65 IP address over here, right? Then you can apply this IP address or source IP field or certain kind of a parameter here. Or maybe you can directly apply this here. Let's say I want to see all the traffic based on this source IP address, so I'll click on this, and immediately this field will be applied this in this search tab. So you can see src IP address, right? Or let's say you also want to have the destination IP address, although it's just one IP address, so you can also have dst underscore IP, then the destination IP address. In this case, it's 202.1, 192.168.202.1. Okay, click enter. There won't be any changes because it's just one IP address. There's only one entry in the DST IP address, so it won't show you much difference. In fact, no difference. So that's the way you actually ingest the data. If you have a sample file, log file, that's the way you upload the data to Splunk, and you perform the parsing as well. All right, so now let's talk about search processing language. That's SPL. Okay, so Splunk has a very powerful query language for searching, for filtering, and for analyzing all sort of data. Okay, so we will first understand all the different commands, the search query, and then I'll take some of the important commands, and I'll show you practically. First thing first, this is what the Splunk query really looks like. I have shown you in the demo as well. You can see we can enter the command on the search tab. That's the SPL, right? Now let's talk about some basic search command. First is search itself. So that's where we retrieve the events from the index. We can type search error and find all the events containing that word error. Okay, so it's that simple. Next, we have time chart. So time chart is create a time-based chart of different results. So maybe for the firewalls, we want to see all the time. We can get all the counts of firewall action over time, and that can be grouped by the different actions type, maybe drop, or maybe allowed, or maybe denied. So yeah. Next, we have stats. So it's for getting the statistics. So it computes the all the statistics over different events. So we can have number of source IP address shown in the entire logs over the period of time, right? So for a firewall, we can see all the source IP address that has been based on the number of counts. So count event grouped by the source IP address in that case, right? Next, let's talk about some advanced search command. In this case, we have eval. So this is this basically calculates an expression and assign the result to a altogether a new field. So if I want to create a new field, maybe internal to classify certain IP address, it is very similar to the rename as well, but uh, this can be used. Now let's talk about the advanced search command. First is the eval. Now this basically calculates an expression and assign the result to altogether a new fields. So maybe let's say we want to get the assign it to the internal fields, as you can see underscore internal, to classify the IP address maybe as internal or external. So this can be possible with it, right? So as you can see, we have eval, then the specific field, and we say if the source IP address is like in this format with internal or external, this will become my is internal field. Okay. Next, transaction. In cybersecurity, in the SOC environment, we don't use it a lot, but it's very important as well. So this basically group the event that are related to a single event, so we can actually group them all together with these start with login, end with logout, with the specific condition as well. So it can groups the login and logout events accordingly. All right, then we have lookup. So this is very very important in the real world environment. You might get the task to get all the data of maybe going back and forth across the firewall, hitting to a specific IP address. So this basically can be used where we enrich the event with the data from external sources. Maybe let's say we have 10 IP address. So if any traffic coming in from that IP address, we need those data. So I can have a lookup done based on geolocation, based on the autonomous system number of source IP address and their country location as well. So that can be very very helpful there. Okay. Next, let's talk about the reporting and visualization category. In this, we have chart, which is very important because this generates a chart from the results that we have. So chart count by source IP and destination IP. So it creates a chart of events count group by source and destination. Then we have table. This displays the result in the table format. So let's say I want to see all the data with source IP address, destination IP address, and the action. So I can see them in the table format. I'll show you. Don't worry about it. Okay. Next, we have DTAP. It's basically removing the duplicate entry. That's why it is called DTAP. Okay, so this is where, let's say, we know that there are multiple source IP address and destination IP address in the thousands or millions of events. So I can remove the duplicate entries with this command. Okay, so these are some of the important commands. Okay, so now let's talk about and learn about some important Splunk commands and also some of the transform command. Okay. So now you see this is the DSCP log. Okay. Now let's use the very first command, that's stats. Stats is used to get the statistics of specific fields. Let's say I want to see how many times this source list of source IP address has been called or is present in the entire logs. So I can use stats count by src underscore IP. That's the source IP address, right? If you remember, we have extracted in the past, right? So let's click, hit enter, and you see this specific source IP address and count on the another column. The specific source IP address .100 has been called 4 times. So what I can do is I can analyze as a security analyst. It would be easy for you to understand if, let's say, there are multiple brute force attack attempt has been done on a specific server. So I can get these stats based on count, maybe hit count, or maybe the request of HTTP, right? And that's the way I get the idea if there's a huge number of traffic or source IP or destination has been there in the specific event. That means this most likely a brute force attack. In our case, you can see there's just 4 count. It means only 4 times this event is present. So I click on view event, and it should be there only for we should only have 4 events. You see this 1 2 3 and 4. That's it. So that's a purpose of statistics. Now let's talk about the next important command. That's let's talk about table now. Okay. We in the table we can create a column. We can transform our entire events into column, into table, right? So we have source and destination IP address. Let's create the data in the table in the table format with the source underscore IP comma DST underscore IP. And let's also take time as well. So let's say um date R, right? So date underscore R. So let's do this. Perfect. Can you see this? Date R. So I don't see any relevant information. Date R is not so important, at least here. But yeah, that's. I hope you got the point. We have source IP address, destination IP address, and date time. We can also have timestamp if it's there, but this is the way we can create it. We currently have triple six events in this case. This is the way we create a table. Now we can also create use the top command as well. This will actually create a table and in the descending order. So I want to see what are the top request events based on the source IP address. So I can just say limit maybe 20 and then source IP address. So this will show me the IP address which has more number of counts in the descending order. So you can see this has 66 count. You see this? And then we have 64. So this is even more helpful in the, as I said, in the case of brute force attack, finding out any brute force attack or any kind of lateral movement as well. So table and top command is very, very powerful. We can also utilize the DDUP command as well. So you can have, let's say you have source IP and DST underscore IP. This will show you the output, but you can then remove any duplicate if it is present. If you have any duplicate entry, you can also do the, again, use the transform command. You can say DDUP, and then you can again say based on the source IP address and destination. So you say I want a unique combination of source IP address and destination IP address now, and if that exists you will see some reduced in number. If not, then you will see this exact same numbers. So that's the way you see the unique events. Okay. All right, so now let's learn to build dashboard. Okay, so as you can see, this is our result for DSCP logs. Okay, now your manager asks you to build a dashboard so that you don't, or maybe your team don't have to run the same query again and again. Okay, so what you can do is based on the results, based on what you see now, or maybe let's consider some source IP address. Okay, let's have this as the source IP address. Okay, so I have added the source IP address as well in the search query. Now I want to save this so that next time I don't have to run the same query or I don't have to remember it. So I can click on save as, and then I go to new dashboard. I can click on it, and this will ask me to enter the name for the dashboard. So I will say DSCP for, maybe I have entered the source IP address, so I'll say external host and maybe the name of the host. Okay, so and then I have two options. Either I can go for the builder option where I can visualize. It has a lot of panel and customization as well, or I can go for classic dashboard. So I can click the classic dashboard. I also have an option of private or shared in app. I can select the private so that it will be visible only with me. But if I select the shared in app, so in that case it will be shared among different apps as well. Okay, so I'll select the private, so keep it private, and then I can go and click on save dashboard. And once it is done, I can click on view dashboard, and this will take me to the dashboard over here. Now next time if you want to access, if you want to see the same results, you don't have to run the query again. You can just come to the dashboard section, and over here you can find DSCP external host, right? So once you do that, you can see the results like this, right? And once you click on this, you can see the edit permission. You can also set this as the home dashboard as well. if it is really important for you. Okay. Now in the dashboard as well, you have few more options where you can clone the same dashboard, you can schedule the PDF delivery, you can edit the permission, change the title and everything, and add different panels as well. You can add different panels based on different data, which you have an option over here. So you can select the edit option. In our case, because we don't have a complex data, multiple fields, so we won't see a lot of information. But if you can add and customize it by clicking on the add panel section, where you have different options like new to reports, new from reports, or you can clone from the dashboard, or build all together new style of panel as well. Maybe it's a statistics, event based, chart based, pie based. So you just have to select it, enter some string, and it will show you the result. In our case, it's a simple data. We won't see a lot of information here, but I hope you got the idea. Here we are going to perform DNS log analysis. Okay. So to do that, we are going to add the DNS log data, sample log data. Okay. And make sure you follow my GitHub repository over here. I'll share you the link as well. So you can go to repository and it's on the top, Splunk projects for beginners. Once you click on it, there are 7 projects. Click on the very first project, and under this you can download the DNS log file. Click on it and it should be downloaded. I have also shared a step-by-step process of how to upload the DNS file to Splunk, and there are around 4 or 5 different uh, tasks as well that you can do and test yourself. Okay, we are going to do a video on it, so let's get started. Click, go to settings, click on add data, click on upload, then drag and drop the DNS log file here. You can also click on select file and it should be done. Click on next, click on next. Okay, give a name, DNS logs. Okay, enter a description. This is uh, sample, this is DNS log data. Okay, uh, keep it as it is. Click on save, keep the host field value as it is. Click on review, click on submit. All right, so it's uploading. It might take few seconds. Or all right, so it's done. Click on start searching. Perfect. Can you see? Now you have everything ready. The host is already been selected. Source type is also selected, and you have 844K events here. That's huge. Okay. Now, uh, if you navigate to my GitHub repository and you see, uh, I've also mentioned how to retrieve the DNS log data from all kind of from a generic log. Maybe let's say it's 1 million events. Maybe it's more, even more than that. How to retrieve the data? How to retrieve DNS log data in that case? So you can use this regular expression. This regular expression is very helpful because this consists of multiple entry, any keyword that has DNS, domain, query, response, port 53. Okay, because that's used by the DNS. Okay, you can enter that, but the problem is, let me show you. But the problem is we might not be getting all the events of DNS, because although this is all DNS, but we might be getting less events. You see this? This is This is just 2864. Why? Although I have 844, right? 844 DNS events, but even after running this regular expression, I don't have all the events now. The problem is because we don't have DNS events parsed properly. That's because we don't have DNS written somewhere, query written somewhere, port 53 written maybe. So it's not been notified because this is not a part of any fields. over here. You see this? So the solution is we have to parse the DNS data properly, not just for regular expression, but even for the further analysis. Okay. You see, we have two components. First is the selected fields, and second is the interesting field. Currently we don't have any relevant data coming in, right? Because if you look at the DNS header, we have multiple information: the domain, the kind of records it is, and we also have information related to different other source IP address, destination IP address, and every other information as well. So to retrieve the data you can actually parse it further. You can click on extract new fields. Okay. And then take any domain, for example, take any events, for example. Let's say I select this one and click on next. This is some sample data. Okay, sample events. Now you have two options to parse. Either you can use the regular expression or delimiter. I'll go with regular expression. Click next. Now from here your real job starts. The problem is, for this to work, for you to properly parse, you need to understand how the packet, or how the IP packet really transaction really works. So usually whenever the communication happen in the client server model, the server communicate on a standard port of recognized port. So UDP port is 53, and that means this IP address most likely is this server IP address. Okay. And this is not a standard port, a random port. So this most likely a client. Surely, of course, I would say it's the client IP address and the source port itself. I mean, the client port itself. So I can parse it accordingly. Usually, I suggest my students to parse one field at a time. But in this case, because we are doing the sample training, so we are doing in the lab environment, so it's going to work. Don't worry. I can select this one and I can say it's a source IP. So I'll just say src underscore IP. And this one, I can keep it as, select this and I can say it's a src port. Okay. That means it's a source port. Next, I can select this one and I can say it's a destination port, sorry, DST underscore IP. And this is the server port, right? So I'll keep it DST underscore port. Okay. Now there's few more options. This is our port, so it's not needed, but yes, you can see there are few more information. This is the domain name which has been queried, right? So I can say it's my fully qualified domain. So either you can say domain or maybe fqdn maybe. Okay. Or maybe you can just say domain. It's all up to you. It's all fine, right? Next, this is the type of record. Okay, so I can say record. Okay. What is? That's it. I think this would be enough. So once I have selected all the fields on the other events will be extracted as well. Okay. Then I can go next, and I can validate the problem is you have to review all the events, and this that's a reason it is recommended to do it. It is recommended to extract one field at a time, so that you can verify, validate properly. When you actually extract multiple field at a time, there are chances of some misconfigured extraction as well. So to avoid doing that, extract one field at a time. Although I have done it, but because it's a training course program, so it's okay. Okay, let's go for next. You can select the ownership, and you can set it for yourself, or maybe you can apply on all the apps. And the final regular expression will look like this. Okay, you can also create your custom regular expression yourself, but this will also work. Okay, click on finish. Now you have extracted all the fields. The magic is the moment you complete, the moment it's done, you once you go back to your search tab, you will see new interesting fields. You see this destination IP address. You see FQDN 100 plus. You see source IP 100 plus, source port, destination port as well. Okay, you see this? That's wonderful. Okay, now this is where you make you this makes our log analysis more interesting. What we can do is, let's say we want to find out the topmost domain getting resolved. Okay, so for that, what we can do is we can actually get the statistics by the domain name. Okay, so we'll run stats count by FQDN. Let's see which domain has more entry. So this is some invalid data, most probably. We also have this domain. Okay, this is one is also a domain which has been called 2418 times. Okay. um, what we can do is we can even use some more data. We can also use top command. Okay, let's say we use the top command and we say a limit of maybe 20, and we'll run it for FQDN. Okay, perfect. Can you see this? We have this domain terado.ipv6.microsoft.com being queried this many times. That's interesting. Tools.google.com being got queried this many times. Time.apple.com got queried this many times. That's interesting. That's super, right? I can also create a table. This is very helpful because in case of ransomware, if something happen, kind of ransomware attempt or kind of a ransomware attack, in that case the DNS resolution happen a lot to a specific command and control server, so we can apply top filter and can analyze it. We can also use the table command as well to see the data based on the source IP address, which source IP address got more which sent more request. So for that we'll have to select a specific domain as well. So let's say we have identified a suspicious domain. For example, let's select any domain. um, let's say this domain. Okay, now for this domain I want to find out which source IP address uh, has actually requested domain resolution. Okay, or DNS request. So what I can do is I can go and run the top command again, top limit maybe 10 this time, and I can say source underscore IP. This will show me, okay, there's just one IP address. Why didn't I see that before? Okay, there's just one source IP address. You can see this. Only this system sent 14,000 requests to this domain. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. I can understand this must be an infected machine for me, right? The source IP address might be the infected. So I got the artifacts now. Okay, so that's the way I can identify the malicious domain and infected machine as well. And at the same time, I can also find the table data as well based on source IP address, destination IP address, and many more information. For example, I just want to get all the information about all the resolution happening in the network. So what I can do is I can run table. Now this is not for the investigation when I do that. This is just for the sample, just to understand what all the resolution happening in the network, just like we do it in the Wireshark. Okay, so I'll do the source src IP, comma src underscore port, then dst underscore IP, comma dst underscore port. Right? Hit enter. Lovely. Can you see this? Source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port. You see the destination IP is on 53. That means it is the DNS server. You see this? It is the DNS server, and these are all the source. These are all the endpoints, right? So this completes our DNS log analysis. All right. So in this section, we are going to perform HTTP log analysis. Okay. This is going to be very similar to what we have done with the DNS. Click on setting, Click on add data, then go to uploads, click on upload. Then over here you can either select file, click on select file, or maybe you can drag and drop. Okay, so I have the sample http log. Meanwhile, you can refer my GitHub repository, the project number 3, where you have http log analysis using Splunk SIEM. You will understand project overview, prerequisite, how to upload the logs on http, and then different task. Okay, we are going to do this task in this video. Okay, click on next. You will see multiple options here. Just keep it as it is. Type the name of the file, http logs, name of the logs, source type, sorry, here. This is http log logs. Just say logs. Yeah. Click on save, click on review, then submit. So once it has been uploaded, you can come on the search tab and then can run index of wildcard entry, and then you can say source type as, remember the name of it? Yes, it's http logs. I have already used this in the past for my another training session, so we might be having some fields extracted already. Okay, you can see an error. This is because we have exceeded the limit. So what we can do is we can stop the processing event sampling in between, so we can pause it. Still it's huge, 989K, right? Now you can see on the selected field we have source type, but in the interesting field we already have destination IP address, 76 destination IP, DST IP. This is not pre-built. This is something which I have created already. So because of that, it is able to extract those information. And because you also see the method. Now if those who know http has got two important way of communication. When a client send the request, this goes as a method. The method can be of different type. HTTP get method to retrieve the data on a specific page. For example, if you send a get request for google.com, you see the lovely Google Doodle, right, and search page. So that's the method. You have post method. When you submit your username and password, this is post method. Similarly, you have different other methods as well. Status is the response. When you send the request method, maybe get, put, and all those stuff, you get the status code saying that what happened to your response. If you get 200, that means everything is okay, the website is working. If you get 404, that means it's been broken, or maybe the website you're looking for does not exist. Maybe you got the wrong URL. And anything above, it's kind of a server error. So every code represent a specific response, maybe error code as well. Okay, then we have timestamp, of course, and these are all important information. Destination IP address, most likely it's the destination URL itself. In our case, because it's just a sample, so you can see the problem with this data is this URL is incomplete. There's a space in between. That's the reason it's not that accurate data. But yes, you can see the URL consists of an IP address, which is most likely the destination IP address, because it is ending with port 80, right? So what we don't have port here. We can possibly extract port in our case, maybe destination port and source port. So let's extract few port, I mean, source and destination port. So you can see, let's take this one or maybe this one. Okay. We have taken this. Let's go to next. Let's select the regular expression. Go to next. This one would be our source port, right? So we'll say src underscore port. And this is HTTP port, a standard port, right? So DST port. Okay. In the comment, just tell me what's the port for HTTPS. I want to hear that. Okay. Let's go to next. Click on next. You can review the output. You can see it's get populated properly. So we are all good. Click on next. Click on finish. And let's explore the fields you just created. Um, Perfect. And on the interesting field, now we have two more fields, right? It's this DST port and SRC port. Let's pause our event sampling, event matching in between. Yeah, let's pause it. Now let's start our testing. In case, let's say we want to retrieve the data from all bulk of data, you remember we can use the regular expression. You can refer my project over here to get the better reference and idea what to do. But here we are going to find out some pattern, traffic pattern, response code, suspicious traffic into the network, right? So to get these data of all the traffic communication happening in the network, you can start with using table, right? So this will give you the output of all the communication happening in the networks, which SRC IP, SRC port, then DST IP, comma DST port. This will give you all the communication in the table format: source port, destination port. Now you can get the output in the, and the print the file and everything, and then you can analyze it as well, or you can visualize it as well. Now this is up to you. You can see the output and everything, and you can further deduplicate it as well. So you can even get some unique communication, deduplicate those information. Maybe you want to deduplicate entries related to maybe source IP address, so you want to see only a unique source IP address. Or maybe, sorry, not source port, I mean the source IP address. Okay, so I want to see only unique source IP address communication to the destination port. Or maybe I want to see only unique destination IP address, which is the destination, which is the web server, right? So you can see the unique destination IP address table here. Or else, what we can do is we can also focus on the top command. Maybe let's say you want to find out if we have a malicious computer in the network sending a lot of requests to a certain web server, maybe scanning requests. So in that situation, we might be having more and more requests to a specific destination. So what we can do is we can run a top command, and we can limit it to maybe 10 or 20, maybe, let's say, and keep the destination IP in the filter. Now, in the real world, you can possibly use the URL as well. Of course, we do have a URL, but it's not being properly parsed. So just remember, in case it's not being properly, given in the sample, right? So you do the parsing later, of course. So instead, when you do the investigation, you can use the URL or URI at the end, so that you get the actual website detail. Okay, so in my case, I'll use the DST because that's what I extracted. So let's see. Okay, so these are the website which has got more requests. So you see, it's increasing like it's mad. Okay, 102, around 1 million requests. Okay, I'm not even sure about the actual number here, but yes, this is the maximum. So I can possibly look at this destination IP address and see. I can go to virus total. Maybe, of course, this is the private IP address. But if it is the public IP address or URL, I can visit virus total and submit this IP address and see if it is a malicious or not. And then I can start my investigation. Then I can try to see all the computer who initiated the communication with the system. Okay, so let's say I can copy this IP address, right? So I'll keep this in the destination. Okay, so I'll do the destination IP equal to, and okay, so I'll get all the events with this destination IP address, and then I can run the top command. The computer who talked more, who has most transaction happening with this website or this destination IP address, I can get it. So I can run limit 10, and then for a specific source IP address, right? Perfect. Can you see that these are the top 10 computers who had a lot of communication with this destination IP address? So, this can be most likely a scanner or infected machine or anything. So, that's the way you find the infected machine. Maybe it's the encrypted, maybe it's a machine got infected because of ransomware, or maybe you're sending multiple network probes as well. So that's how you find the malicious traffic into the network, right? So you can also go in detail and find traffic patterns in the network, try to identify if there's a specific response code increasing in the network. So let's say you can run the stats count by status, and then maybe in some of the situation you want to find out the response code which is higher than 400. So I can run the where command status, I can say, which is more than 400. So I should only see the output where I have 400 or more than that. So 400, 401, 403, and all those details. So I can also see if it's 404, that means the website or the URL does not exist on those situations. So this will give me the pattern in the entire network. Okay, this most likely won't give you suspicious traffic, but this will give you the idea about what all happening in the network environment. All right, so I hope you got the idea about how to find the traffic pattern into the network. To learn more, you can visit my GitHub repository in this URL, and you can learn further as well. All right, so now it's time to learn about most important app in Splunk. That's called enterprise security. Why it's so important? Because if you are security analyst, SOC analyst, or aspirant SOC analyst, this is what you would be spending your most of the time with. Okay, so why it's so important? Let's learn about it. Okay, so first thing first, with this tool, with this Splunk app, remember this is altogether a different app. You can't directly download it or install it from the Splunk app store. You have to go to Splunk base, and then in fact you have to talk to the Splunk sales team to get this app. Okay, this is really cool, very 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 powerful. The first thing that you see is this lovely dashboard where you have security posture option, incident review, investigation option as well. You can perform everything with it. You can perform the investigation, perform the initial triage, and you can get the security intelligence. It's MITRE attack supported, so threat intelligence become very very easier with this. You also have topology, threat topology, and many more. Let's learn about that. On the dashboard, the first thing that you have is the option to for performing the incident management. Sorry, management e sorry about that. So when you start getting a lot of incidents, these are all notables. So notables are the one which matches a specific correlation searches. So with Splunk, with enterprise security, you can create correlation rules that consist of complex rules. When any traffic pattern matches any correlation search or a rule, it creates a notable. Okay, now in the incident you can see a lot of incident here. Over here you see this is a specific incident. Every incident will have multiple events inside. Okay, this is the risk object, and this is the overall risk, and this is the risk event urgency as well. You can click on this button, and this will give you an option of changing the status of the incident, or maybe you can change the urgency, you can change the owner and assign it to someone else. Maybe let's say as a SOC level 1 person, you perform the initial triage, but you find that it is really an serious alert and might be an urgency, might be an urgent intervention is needed. So in those situations, you can assign it to someone else. Next, what we can do is, the most important thing is, let's say you understand these all three incidents are correlated, so you can select all three of them and then go to the add selected to the investigation, and this all three incident will be become part of your investigation, like this. So investigation, yeah. So in the investigation, once you get into the investigation tab, you have an option to add artifacts. In the artifacts, you can say, okay, who are the infected users? In our case, let's say we say Bill Williams, okay, and we can say it's identity or maybe asset. So I'll say it's an identity because it's a username, right? I can add more artifacts as well, maybe asset, computer name, system, and all those information, and add their labels as well. Okay, so I'll add the infected user and add him to the scope. The moment I do that, the moment I add the artifacts into the investigation where I have all those three incidents, I'll get I'll get some context. I immediately get the context panel somewhere over here. Okay. And this context basically gives me a lot of information, and this can be based on system vulnerability, notable events into the network related to that artifacts, you remember, and of course related to all those incidents as well. So I'll get all the IDS alerts related to that risk score level as well in the context section. Okay, I'll have by default, I remember we get the context. I don't see it here, but yes, by default we get the context, we get the endpoint data, we get the network data. So this is the context. Okay, then we also get the endpoint data where we have file system changes happening into the system, service activity, process activity, registry activity. This is all possible because of the endpoint data, maybe endpoint protection. This comes in from the your antivirus software. Next, we also get the network data. This comes through the IDS solution, network based IDS, proxy solution, firewalls, and everything. So, based on that artifacts, everything around it, around that user identity or computer, we get everything about it. So, this helps us to perform the investigation very well and faster, and this saves quite a lot of time. That's why Splunk Enterprise Security is so powerful. Next, let's talk about the risk events. Well, a risk event is very important feature because if you look at this dashboard, you have incident review option. In the incident review option, we have multiple incident as we discussed earlier, right? If you click on any of this incident and we go to the risk score value or any of the risk information or risk event as well, let's say we go to the risk event, we immediately get this box on top of it, which covers two information, which we have a timeline information and threat topology option. Threat topology will give you the idea about a threat object that might impact multiple users. So in our case, we have this specific process, which is the threat object that might impact three users. So this will give you a very clear idea if this specific process or this specific alert can impact how many users or what kind of assets into the network, and this help you to prioritize faster and triage accordingly. Okay, next we have security posture options as well. And the security posture is very powerful because with security posture you see the notable events, access notable, endpoint notables. And as I said earlier, it is generated, notables are generated when a correlation search is triggered. And this helps us to find any kind of anomalous traffic into the network. My friend, so this completes our Splunk SIEM course. Let me know how did you like it. If you have any question in your mind, do let me know in the comment section. Keep learning.